Hello, and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics in business and in life and simplify it. Now, friends, we've been through this pandemic for, about 5 or 6 weeks now. We're moved beyond the scary stuff. Let's hope. But we also want to make mention that we're recording this conversation today on April 7th, 2020. And what I'm feeling in my own life and in my own business is I'm beyond the place of making sure I've got enough toilet paper at home or making sure that my business is going to survive this pandemic. And I'm really yearning for deeper connection. And so I wanted to bring on an expert and somebody in my network who I just think is so brilliant at this in particular, and talking about and simplifying, bringing on and creating deeper connection through empathy. So my special guest today is Adam Wilder. He's a trained counselor and the founder of the Togetherness movement, which helps people wake up their natural ability to form good relationships with themselves and others. Now, last year in 2019, he created the House of Togetherness, which I absolutely loved and have gone to quite a few events with them. It was a pop-up in central London, a venue specifically to help people engage in meaningful human connection in person. Now, Adam is also known for creating Dating, which is also the world's first silent speed dating event, which helps singles find love through eye-gazing and non-verbal flirting games. So I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, Adam Wilder. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Mary. Thanks for inviting me on today.
I have such big love for you and all the people over at Togetherness. I really feel that we are a community, and boy, howdy, in this day and age of being socially isolated, all stuck in our own living rooms and home offices, I miss that connection. I miss that sense of togetherness. How are you handling this?
I think I'm really fortunate. I've actually moved in with my partner.
Yeah.
So we get to touch each other and hang out and do all the kind of human things like that. And I'm actually finding myself connecting with a wider audience online than I have before, new people in my network, and I'm really enjoying that. I'm also enjoying the creativity that's coming out of this, the way people are expressing themselves. There's a lot of new initiatives going on, which I think are absolutely fantastic. So I like to get involved and offer something online once a week to connect with the wider community. I like to connect with my partner. And for me, it's a really good time as well to check in with family. I'm really enjoying that.
So the topic we're simplifying is how to create deeper connection through empathy. Let's start first things first. How would you define empathy first?
Empathy is the ability to understand another person's point of view or situation. What is it like for them? So a way I like to talk about this is, imagine if you go to the supermarket and the person on the checkout, they snub you somehow, or they don't look at you, and you feel a bit awful about that.
Yeah.
You feel like, oh gosh, that felt awful. But if you then think of 3 reasons why they might have done that, which has nothing to do with you. So, maybe their dog died. Okay, maybe they've just been told that they got a parking ticket.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they had an argument with their partner. And if you then consider it like that, you can understand, wow, maybe this person didn't have anything against me.
Yeah.
And that's having empathy, to understand how someone else is feeling, and then that affects the way that we treat people.
Gosh, and I'll be the first to admit that I always fall down that spiral of like, well, God, why is he not making eye contact with me? What? Ugh. Like, I make that sound a lot in my head, obviously. And yeah, what I've realized over time, I'm 42 now, so it's taken a long time for me to realize this, is that very rarely is it about you. Like what's going on in other people's lives. Very rarely is it about you.
Yeah,
do you see that too?
Totally. But we take it so personally,
We do.
Like just even today, I commented on someone's Facebook and someone wrote underneath, "This is total rubbish," and It's like we're really programmed to take offense by other people because we're worried what other people think about us.
Yeah, and it's like the arrow straight into the heart. You're like, oh, that hurts. That stings. So here we are in a pandemic. We have been socially isolating, quarantined. Some countries out in the world are in total lockdown for weeks now. We have been flung into, I hate to call it a new normal, but into a season of just uncertainty and like disarray that what do you think is going to be the fallout effect of all of this, like in the weeks and coming months ahead, specifically as it comes to a connection and togetherness?
Well, so I think that this movement, the idea about connection, the idea of having better mental health through being able to talk more to other people, to be more in touch with your own feelings,
Yeah.
this has slowly been gaining ground. And there's been a few great people like Brené Brown and Johan Hari are really helping to move this idea forward. But still, I think we're kind of, in the greater scheme of things, we're like on the little boy's table. Now, what's happening through this pandemic is we're understanding more and more about the things because we don't have it right now. We're understanding the value of it and the need for it.
Yeah.
So I think that this is going to change our cultural value system on some level. You know, another thing that's happening is we're seeing how fragile our economic system is, just how fragile we are at dealing with an unexpected crisis like this. And, you know, this is quite mild in comparison. So I think this might change our economic outlook as well. One thing that's very interesting in the UK is you have this conservative government who've come in with a whole raft of quite socialist policies. I mean, and people have talked about universal credit as well as a universal basic income, which I think is a very interesting idea. So I think we might move a little bit away from the sort of free market stuff towards a slightly different outlook where meaningful connection is a higher priority.
I couldn't agree more with everything you've just said there. It harkens back to a conversation I recently had with Neil Greenwood, the head of Morning Gloryville, who you and I both know. We were talking about how this pandemic is, yes, shocking and yes, scary. But what an opportunity, what an awakening it will be for a lot of us. And that while it may feel very scary and very unsettling right now, we also have this invitation as humanity, as a community on a greater level to take stock of what's most important and then also recreate and reimagine what a new life could be. And this is where I get very hopeful because I feel, yes, there's going to be some fallout. Yes, there is going to be a downturn in the economy and things are going to suck for a bit for a lot of us, right? But then there's also going to be such a beautiful coming back together for togetherness in person and building community, and connection has never been more important than now, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I want to say as well, I think we're really lucky, right? Anyone who's got their basic needs met right now is really lucky. So it's great. Like we have more time to lean into this and look at what is our purpose.
Yeah.
Now, for someone who's stuck in a tiny flat, trying to homeschool 3 children, it's a different situation.
100%.
But I think, what's interesting as well at this time is, Boris Johnson has been taken into hospital, into intensive care. And when we really see that we really are all the same, we can really all suffer, and just how important our health service is, I think that's going to create more empathy for other people suffering. And I think that's a big thing that's happening with COVID.
So what do you think are the first steps to begin to create deeper connections with others right now in this kind of quarantine life, but also visioning forward 6 months from now? Let's hope we are at a place where we are having these conversations, Adam, in person, and we're hugging and all the things. What do you think are the first steps now and 6 months from now?
It's about, I think, being courageous and looking at yourself and how you're actually thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
Because our whole personalities are developed to make us likable and acceptable, and so we learn from a very young age to hide things, and we even hide things from ourselves which feel uncomfortable, and that means that we're always meeting other people through a almost like a spacesuit or something, or a veneer, and there's a gap between what we think and feel and how we behave in the world.
Yeah, like a filter, like an Instagram filter that we're already putting up and putting on a show for. Do you think there's going to be a bit more of pulling the curtains back and seeing authenticity?
I think so, because this crisis makes it more sort of normal to not be okay or to have difficulty. And I think most people are going around pretending the whole time, yeah, I've got this wonderful Instagram life, whereas actually, in fact, Johann Hari writes about it in his book, and he talks about someone he knew is very popular on Instagram, and he literally saw them after posting one post how wonderful they're feeling, just looking really, really depressed by themselves in a cafe. Yeah. So that I feel sorry for that person. This great pressure that we all feel to perform and to be well, and it makes sense. Like, it's hard to tell your parents that you're not feeling well. It's hard to tell a friend. It can be feelings of shame, and so the first step is get in touch with how you're actually feeling.
Yeah.
And then once you can communicate that, you open up. It's like you take this layer away, you take this mask away, and you get to choose, by the way, when you want to wear your mask and when you don't. You don't have to all walk around with our skin off the whole time, right?
Right.
You get to decide. And the people you get to do that with and who do that with you, those are people that you'll have more meaningful, deep connections with.
And one of the things that I've been grappling with, and I'm still kind of formulating words, so you'll just have to bear with me for a sec, through this is a sense of duality, that in this, season of uncertainty, there are moments where my own feelings and emotions could waver by the hour. Like one moment I'm feeling absolute elation and joy and gratitude for the sunshine and getting to sit in the back garden with my kids or whatever. And then, a wave of sadness will wash over me 30 minutes later, or even a breath later, of grief or loss or just deep sadness. And so what I've been noticing is that duality, that it's okay to feel love and joy and elation, and in the same breath feel pain and suffering. And I think for me, that has been that journey of pulling the mask off and getting to that deeper level of interconnection. Have you been noticing that too in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. And the more I've been doing this work, the more I've been working on what we call emotional fluency.
Yeah.
And that is the ability to notice and feel your different emotions and to allow them and to move through them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time we're trying to hide what we're feeling by, it can turn into addictions, for example, or it can just be as simple as spending, 12 hours a day on Netflix and ordering takeaways and, which I've totally done that at moments in my life.
And just numbing the pain away, pretending
Exactly.
it doesn't exist. Well,
Exactly.
And I know that Togetherness, you guys have had workshops in the past for Rage Club, like really helping people connect with that inner rage and anger. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cultural shame around I must not feel angry, especially in the more spiritual circles, actually. It's like I have transcended anger. I am now at one with the universe. And I don't really trust people who say that because, anger is a natural and important part of our emotional makeup. And it helps us to set healthy boundaries. It helps us to move away from situations which don't serve us. I think my personal relationship with my partner has been really great because we allow things to move through. Like we can get a little bit angry and express it, and because it's kind of healthy and normal for us, we don't feel uncomfortable when the other person's angry. We don't feel like they're blaming us for anything. We just support each other, and it just goes through, and then it's clear. And there's a great poem by Rumi which everyone's sharing called "The Guest House." I don't know if you know that one, but that's a really lovely poem about the importance of all, welcome all your emotions. They're just coming in to clear your house out before something new arrives.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And just a side note, if you're listening to this episode on the go, all the things we're talking about are in the show notes. So just go to the simplifierspodcast.com. I'll link up Rumi's poem as well. But what I hear there is it's just like a validation of all feelings, emotions, that one is not better than the other, that when you do peel back that layer and allow space to acknowledge those feelings, whether it's deep, deep, deep sadness or absolute ferocity and anger to, pure love and warmth and joy, that there is not one that is better than the other. Is that what you're saying here?
Yes, exactly. That when you're emotionally fluent, you can allow these things. So you're going with it instead of saying, no, I mustn't feel like that.
Right.
And this is also really important in our business relationships because, you can end up making deals with people that you're not really happy about, and then you feel resentful, and then, undermines your relationship. It's much better I love negotiating with people who are really upfront and I love working with people who are clear.
Yeah.
I love, so it just makes such a difference. So this emotional fluency is a skill that will help you in all your relationships, in your business, in your personal life, with your family.
Mm-hmm. And so before we move on off of this, I mean, for me, whenever things come up, my personal process, and I'm curious of what yours is, but is acknowledge the feeling. Sit with it, feel the feels. Like don't, hop, skip, and jump over and try to change it immediately. But then once you've done the acknowledging and then feeling and processing it, then you can go to thinking a new thought or springboarding off of that. What's your process of processing anger, grief, sadness, joy, love, all the things?
The techniques I've learned are about going in towards it. So you turn to face it, like you say, you feel it, you allow it. You can even express it. Yeah. So there's some wonderful emotional releasing techniques. For example, pillow screaming, where you put a pillow up to your mouth. If you're in a tiny hot flat and you're just so frustrated, you can just get a pillow and scream and shout into it. No one's going to call the police. Yeah. And you might feel wonderful afterwards. Dance. Movement is a great way of moving through these things. So feel it, express it, and then notice how you're feeling afterwards.
Yeah.
For someone who is just by themselves, you can also just journal. Journaling can be really a great way of expressing it. These are all things, they're coming up, they want to be expressed in some way. We want to express them in a healthy way, because if we don't, they build up and we no longer have control over them.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm hoping that you will also say that it's not about pushing it and projecting it onto other people, right? It is your thing. You own this. And so you can't just deflect off to others, right? So if you have anger, what we are saying here is don't punch somebody, but maybe punch a pillow, or maybe journal it out, or put on some death metal music and get it sweated out.
Absolutely. It's all these things are created inside you. There might be external stimuli, but you're still creating that inside yourself. And that's, I really encourage this sense of personal sovereignty in ourselves. It gives us agency over our lives. Yeah.
So let's talk about sovereignty, because that is a word that, I've been to quite a few Togetherness events over the last year or so. And right from the very first one, it's something that comes up as a core value and principle for you guys. So what does sovereignty mean to you, and how can we be more sovereign over our own lives?
Sovereignty the meaning is about, who is your supreme ruler? And personal sovereignty is about becoming the supreme ruler of yourself. Yeah. Meaning, it's, what do you choose to do? Do you choose to do it because you want to do it? Or is it because your parents think you should do it? Is it because your geography teacher thought you should do it? Which film do you really want to go and see? When you're on a date with someone, do you really want to go on the date with them? Or would you actually like to leave right now? People who are too nice can have problems feeling they have to be nice to everyone. Maybe they were taught that as a kid. And so when you're doing that, you're denying your feelings, you're denying your agency. You just become smaller, and it can become frustrating. Yeah. And I think at this time in the world, this is cultivating personal sovereignty is something we can all do to have a more effective, a closer world where we can communicate more healthily with each other.
So it's realizing you have a choice in all things, how you show up in the world, what you eat, what you drink, what you wear, who you interact with, who you don't interact with, the actions and choices. I mean, I think it comes back to that concept of radical responsibility. It is your responsibility to take care of you. But what I've also been really grappling with in my own journey over the last year or so is how codependency really plays into this. Because I think the people who fall into that wanting to be a good girl or men don't cry nonsense that maybe some people have bought into is codependency. From what I've learned about it in my own life, and I'm starting to unravel, is it's not your responsibility to fix or change or manipulate other people and their thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions, all of that. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we are responsible for ourselves. We're not responsible for other people.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a break. If you're a parent, I'm not saying just forget about your kids, right? But so by taking responsibility for ourselves, really understanding, it gives us a deeper sense of agency in the world, and it enables us to make choices that are really aligned with our values.
Yeah.
And we grow up in a culture where we are so encouraged from a young age not to have that agency, where we're told what to do, we don't have choices about things. I think this leads to problems down the line. And one of the big problems it leads to is people aren't able to express what their real needs are and ask for what they need. And so we develop these strategies for getting our needs met instead. I'll give you an example. If I really would like a massage from you, Mary, okay? And I'm actually shy to ask you because maybe I'm afraid you're going to say no and I'll feel embarrassed, yeah? Or maybe I don't feel like I deserve a massage, or there's any 100 reasons why I wouldn't ask you outright. So I could then offer you a massage, and you might say yes. And afterwards, you would feel maybe indebted to me and you would offer me one, right? So why go round the houses like that? And there's a lot of room for miscommunication and misinterpretation.
Passive aggressiveness.
Oh my gosh. There's and that's kind of a nice simple one, but we get into all kinds of forms of manipulation. And now there's nothing, what I want to say is these are all strategies that we learn through our lives to get our needs met.
Yeah.
And it's good that we can start becoming aware of them, because otherwise they play us and they mess with our relationships. There's a lot of shame usually put on, manipulation and etc. But I want to say that they are all strategies that we have learned.
So what I hear there with sovereignty, when you really truly embrace the concept of sovereignty, I have choice. I have domain over my own body, my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own actions. And if everybody embraced that, your spouse, your coworkers, even to a certain extent, you can teach your clients how to have sovereignty in the relationship of client and supplier or vendor. It changes the dynamic completely, right? Because then for me, when I look at it with that lens on, I think old Mary would have been a people pleaser, to go above and beyond, to really make sure that you are happy, your needs are met first, you. And then at the very end of the day, metaphorically, then I'll take the scraps at the end. But what's beautiful about sovereignty, it's actually specifically sovereignty when how you describe it and how I've experienced it in Togetherness, it's about equal. We can both ask for what we want and what we need equally at the same time, and both equally we can say no to the other person, and that is okay, right?
Exactly. And we need to take a little bit of a risk to do that, especially in the personal relationships, really asking for what you want, really telling your colleagues or your friends, what you really want to do. Having a difference of opinion with someone, we usually don't want to cause a scene. But actually, when you're able to articulate yourself and express yourself, you can have, like, what I find is it brings people closer and you feel more whole. And that's what it's about, is feeling whole and fierce and alive and able to face any challenge in front of you.
And again, this is all coming back to how you actually create deeper connections. This is the root stuff. It's not just the kind of surface things that are like, oh, this are tips on how to be more connected. No, like, this is what I believe is the stuff deep, deep, deep down inside that when we start to examine and scoop up again in this new awakening that the pandemic has put us in, gosh, it just makes my heart full, because I think this is really such a beautiful new chapter that we can all step into in humanity.
Yes, I think that I'm hoping this is going to be great for us as a culture, and we can step into this more. I think the sovereignty angle, we need to bring that in a bit more. We're just getting to understand more about how meaningful connection is important.
Yeah.
But I think it's coming, and I think it's coming to businesses as well. And a lot of people are looking at what their purpose is now, and do they really want to do what they're doing, or if their job has disappeared, what do they actually want to do next? And this is a wonderful time to reflect on that.
I can certainly see that there as well. And I also imagine that deeper connection really relies on better listening skills. So how do we become better listeners, especially to help other people really feel heard when they ask for what they need, or creating a space for them to feel more comfortable to ask for what they need?
Yes, you can. To be a good listener, you need to create safety for the other person. And the first way you can do that is by really giving them your attention. So notice in yourself, are you ready to listen to someone, or are you in the middle of something else?
Yeah.
Like, my girlfriend can always tell when she wants to talk to me and I'm thinking about something else. So that's, if you're with a partner, that can be a really good barometer of, are you really paying attention?
Yeah.
But if you are ready to listen, then give them your full attention, your full presence. Maybe it means stopping what you're doing, sitting down with them somewhere, look at them, breathe, notice your whole body. And it's not just like you're listening with your ears, but you're listening with your eyes and your face. And attention is one of the most precious things we can give to each other.
Yeah.
And what happens when you give someone your attention is they blossom and bloom, and they feel safe, and they can start to express themselves how they wouldn't express themselves before. So number one is your attention.
Yeah. And I feel like and I'll be the first to admit that I fall into the trap too. Prior to the pandemic, we were just go, go, go. We put our blinders on, we get on the train, we don't look at people, we don't make eye contact, we, surf through our phone, and we're thinking about the 80 billion things that are on our to-do list. That I really hope, genuinely, and I think for myself as well, I've learned in the past few weeks, the importance of slowing down and single tasking rather than multitasking, because multitasking is a myth. And, that gives you that space to appreciate this is a person who is giving their space and their time and their energy to you, to give them your full attention more often than not.
It's so important. And if you ever have employees, or you're working with people and you have disagreements, the really important thing is to listen to them with that quality of attention.
Yeah.
And even though you might not agree with them and your decision is still the same decision, when someone feels listened to, it really makes them feel appreciated and valued. And, they'll probably have a better relationship with you than if you just didn't listen to them at all.
And isn't it tough, though? Because as humans, I think we all just want to get to the place where we get to speak, or we want to just say the thing that, is the fix. Like, okay, yeah, you're processing, but really, here's the answer. It drives me crazy when I have conversations like that. But I also know that I probably do it myself.
Well, it depends how much time you've got and what the solution is. I think everyone should decide for themselves, how to listen. But quality of attention is important.
So what is the vision for your group, Togetherness, in the next year or so ahead? Once we get back to being in person, get back to hugging each other, get back to dancing and doing workshops and all that, where do you see Togetherness headed next?
Well, the truth is that, last year we did so much in person, and it's a very difficult business model to do so many things in person.
Yeah.
So this year, my whole plan was to move more online anyway. So I would like to now cultivate more of a global community. We're rolling out a course on embodied sovereignty, an online course, which I think is fantastic skills for how to look after ourselves and how to communicate.
Yeah.
And we've got a YouTube channel, which is really cool. We're doing a retreat in September called Belonging. So we'll still do some live events, but I think we're going to do more online as well.
Yeah. And, I have a true sense. I mean, I have a background in producing events for lots and lots of years. And I do have a true sense that people need connection in person. But I think that there is an opportunity here to make it even more beautiful. By now, we're all flung into having to communicate online and use online tools and things that both can happen as a layer. It's not one or the other. I think now we're going to move into a space where online events, workshops, conferences, summits, retreats are going to be part of our dialect, right?
We're going to appreciate meeting each other in person like never before.
So much more. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm super excited for what you're building, Adam, at Togetherness. I'm a big supporter of you guys. And if you're curious about Togetherness and seeing how they could potentially come to your local city or community, I highly recommend checking out their website, togetherness.com. Again, all the links will be in the show notes as well. So, Adam, is there any final thoughts here on building deeper connection through empathy? Anything that we haven't talked about yet?
The takeaway, I think, is to take a little risk.
Yeah.
Take a little risk. And that will bring you closer to yourself and the world.
Yeah. So there's a few questions I'd like to ask you that I like to ask everybody that comes on the podcast. And again, thank you so much for your time today. My first question for you is this. Tell me, what's one book or blog that you're reading these days that's either inspiring you or poking holes and challenging your belief system?
I read a great book by Christine Neff recently called Self-Acceptance. And although I was worried it'd be a little bit too cheesy, it's actually a really amazing book. She's an academic and a practitioner. And the stuff that's in there is really good for anyone who's ever felt bad about anything. It's really great practices to deprogram that kind of stuff.
Well, we'll put a link in the show notes for that book as well. That's a new one. I've not heard that one yet. So tell me, who's one person in your network that you just feel is up to brilliant things? And we could shine a spotlight on them. And who knows, maybe one day we'll have them on the podcast as well.
I mean, right now I'm finding Mark Walsh really, really inspiring. I don't know if you know him, but he runs the Embodiment Conference. So he created this online conference 2 years ago, and he's doing one this year where he wants to have 200,000 people signed up. I think he's got 80,000 signed up already. So it's a really big event. But what I'm impressed about with Mark is he responded to this crisis. He set up free online embodiment calls. There's 80 calls a week in different time zones and different languages. You just join, and there's a very simple process they go through, and it's really connecting and grounding. So I love what he's doing. He's currently setting something up for all the NHS workers as well. So I think he's pretty inspiring. He's up to great stuff. Anyone should check that out, embodimentconference.com.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll put that link in the show notes also. How would you define embodiment, real quick?
It's a sense of feeling at home in your body.
Yeah, mind, body, spirit, fully connected. Yeah. So I believe gratitude and simplicity go hand in hand. Tell me, what's one thing you're grateful for these days?
I'm really grateful that I'm living with my partner in a really nice apartment, and we've got space to go out. I'm grateful my family's still alive.
Yeah.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah. I am too. And I'm grateful for you also, and all of the peeps in the Togetherness movement. Big love, big love. So if people wanted to connect with you online, where could they find you?
Togetherness.com is the best place to find us.
Okay, cool. And then you've also got a YouTube channel as well. So we'll put the link in the show notes. I love your YouTube videos. You have this alter ego, Stefan.
Yeah, my German alter ego. He can do all the funny, playful stuff, and I can do the really serious stuff, and we tag team. Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, it's really great fun. I really enjoy the videos you do with him and you. So if you've not seen any of these yet, go to the show notes and check this out. It is playful and delightful and wonderful. So, Adam, someone somewhere is listening to this episode right now. She's probably chuckled along with us, but she's also feeling a little bit of deep sadness of just missing people, missing connection, and feeling a little bit battered and bruised from all that's been happening in the world. What's one thing you could whisper into her ear right now just to encourage her in this moment?
Say just reach out to someone, tell them how you're feeling, ring a friend, and allow how you're feeling. It's part of your blossoming, it's part of your blooming. See it as the growth and the budding new flowers.
And you're not alone. You are not alone.
Exactly.
Adam, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It's been an absolute delight, Mary. Thank you so much.
Big love.